Hey, I'm Ryan with Warner Discovers, and welcome to my movie room. Now, we watch a lot of movies down here. I have a 7.1 system, and for a while now that I've had this room set up, I've had a lot of blank walls. So what I'm looking to do is make some of these sound panels so they can absorb the sound that reflects off the walls, as opposed to putting up some posters and frames that won't really help with that. So I've been putting this off for a long time, and I've been looking forward to putting these up. So right now you can see what the room is like on the right hand side. You can see it's just a very blank canvas. On the left hand side there's sort of like a fireplace with some Patriots newspapers and Midsommar poster and not much, and then on the back is sort of just like a popcorn area, candy area, equipment area. So I'm hoping to put around 8 or 9 panels up, and I'm going to show you my process in making them. And if you're wondering why you would want these panels to absorb sound, basically don't want to have a lot of reflections in the room from the audio bouncing off the walls and coming from directions that you don't really want them to. So I'm sure people over on AVS could explain it much better than I, but long story short, it's definitely just better for the room dynamics of the audio. First of all, I want to shout out Nick over on the AVS forums. He has this huge thread, which I'll link in the description, as well as his YouTube channel that helps you figure out how to source your images, how to dynamically size your images for the fabric printing, and all that. So if you're looking for even more in-depth information, head over to the AVS forums thread. Otherwise, follow along as I show you how I create my panels, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so we have all of our wood here, and this is 38.25 inches, and this is 24 inches. This will go in between two of these. And then I have my movie posters here that I already cut up, and you can see a picture here of me in the middle of cutting them because they all came on one roll. And then we have these French cleats, which I'm going to cut into sections, which I'll use for each frame. And then this weed control barrier, which is just a cheap way to put this on the back of the frame to keep the insulation in. Still waiting to get the insulation in, but that's coming really soon. And this is an example of one of the frames I just put together. And then we have an air gun for a brad nailer, and then we have 2-inch 18 gauge brad nails and some wood glue. I'm gonna do a few of these and I'll show you how I put a frame together. Also, I just picked up this brad nailer. It was 20 bucks, Harbor Freight, air gun. It's been good so far for that one frame. So I didn't want to do screws and just wanted to make it easy. And this certainly has made it easier. Just did 8 of these frames, and now I'm gonna show you how I do my last one here. And just a fair warning, there's probably better woodworking methods that you could probably do. This is just how I got it done. It's just a simple frame with brad nails and wood glue. So take it as you will, and make sure to wear your eye protection. So I just picked a long board here, and I picked a face that looked the nicest, and the face that looked the nicest here. And then I'm just gonna take my wood glue and then just run it along the side of the board and butt it together. So I got my wood glue on, and I'm just gonna butt it against the joint. I'm gonna use 2 hands here to just kind of make sure it just stays in place. Now the wood glue is in there, and it's sort of just hanging on with the glue, and I'm gonna take a hand and hold it against the nail gun, and I'm just gonna apply 3 nails, one on the left, one on the right, one in the middle. All right, there's the 3 2-inch brad nails in, and I kind of just wipe up the glue at this point. On the other side, I'm going to do the same thing here. Just going to apply the glue on this edge, put it together, and then brad nail it. And there's the other edge jointed. If you're having trouble getting to stay together, you could also use something like a speed square with some clamps. And I was trying to mess with it, but it was just causing me more problems than I really needed. At this point, I have 2 pieces of wood to sort of hold this last section together. I just kind of put this on its side, flipped it around, and then I'll apply some wood glue, find a nice corner like that, leave it down, and then brad nail. There's the 3rd joint done, and then I wiped off the glue here. And then I'm gonna flip it around now. I'm gonna do the same thing on the final edge. Now, if it's sort of not plumb with the other angles, what I'll do with the other ones that I've already done is I'll glue it, put it down, get the best edge on one side, and then I'll nail one here. And then on the other side, I'll just kind of pull it back or forward however it needs to be, and then drive another nail in there. Again, we're not shooting for absolute perfection. It's just a frame that's gonna be wrapped in fabric, so. And that is it. Now we got our frame ready to go. I got 9 frames ready to go, and it's best to just sort of probably let this sit overnight for the wood glue to adhere before we mess with it and put fabric on it, but I bet you could do it right away. Probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. So we have 9 frames ready to go. And I'm gonna actually bring these outside and sand the front faces with an electric sander, just because it's probably not super necessary, but it'll just be a little softer on the edges for the fabric and so that nothing sort of tears. So I brought all 9 of these outside and just electric sanded all the edges and the faces, just to get rid of any little imperfections, because why not? And next we're gonna put one of the covers on, and I'll show you the method that I did. I've done a couple of these so far and they're turning out really great. However, do not make the mistake I did, which is folding them up like this, because then you'll get creases. And so what I ended up doing was just getting an iron and quickly sort of going over it to get rid of the creases as best I can. Like you can see one there. But if you already put them together, you can actually use a steamer. And I just went over some of this, got rid of some of the creases going on here. It might make it a little looser, but you can go back and tighten it up if you want. I think it'll be fine. So I have a few of these frames done, and I'm gonna show you how I do the next frame here. I have the frame situated on the edge of where the picture would be. If you don't have an edge, it's just a little more tricky. You can see the edge runs along here. So first thing is I'm gonna cut the top and the bottom. So I've left it like this. I already cut it, and I just left this size on both ends. And then the next thing I'm gonna do is come on the sides once I've cut the top and bottom, and I'm just gonna put the fabric up on both sides. So I have the fabric up on both sides, and you can see where the black line meets the wood here, as well as on the other side. You can see where the black line meets the wood here, so it's pretty even. So next I'm going to actually go in the center, and I'm just gonna staple down this side with just a little bit of pull. So I'm gonna staple here, and then I'm gonna staple over here, and I'm gonna staple over here. So I have those 3 stapled, and next I'm just gonna start in the center. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of a tug so that we start tightening up the image across from the center staple, and this staple, and this staple. Next I'm gonna flip over the top and bottom, and then put in a staple on the center here. At this point you should have 1 staple on the top, 1 staple on the bottom, and now let's do the corners. So you come up to a corner here, and you just have some loose fabric like this. What you're gonna wanna do is, so let's say you have fabric on the corner right here, and what you're gonna do is you're just gonna wanna fold it over like this so that the fabric is up on the top. And then we're gonna take the extra fabric, and then we're gonna fold it down so that you can try to line up the edge right on the corner of the poster. So it's definitely easier with 2 hands, but you can see here how the edge goes right along the corner. And we're gonna pull this down and staple right in here, and then we can easily just pull down on some more fabric to get all the excess that's going on right here. Now we have all 4 corners that have the alignment right on the corner, and this is a little overlapping at the top, but oh well. So now at this point I'll go around and I'll just sort of tug on the fabric just to tighten up the front, just anywhere it needs it. I'll probably end up doing some right here and there, and sort of messing about getting this out. I pull it over here, and I'll just go around the frame until I'm satisfied with that. So I went around and just pulled, like I said, just any areas that I felt were needing some more tightening. And the top looks pretty good. There's just a couple areas that the image is just slightly larger than the frame, or the frame is slightly smaller. And then this bottom could be a little better, but not a big deal. Overall, that's how it's looking. Pretty happy with how that's coming. Now that we have all these frames done, I got my insulation in. So I measured the inside of this, and I think it was roughly like 36.75 inches. And I cut these down to 36.5 inches. So now I'm gonna take some gloves and just take one of these and put it inside, and the width should really have it so it stays in there pretty well. I already did this one, and then we'll apply a backing. Now I have the insulation in there, and I pushed it down, and it really snugged up to the sides. The top I probably could have gone another 1/4 inch longer. Now I'm gonna take this landscape fabric, and I'm just gonna roll it over the whole thing. Now I roll the landscape fabric over the panel, and then I just moved it over to the side, so I only have to cut one side. So I'm just gonna cut right down here, and then right over here. Now that I've cut it on the opposite side, I'm just gonna go along this edge here and I'm gonna staple on the inside and just keep the landscape fabric down. And on the other side, if it's too long, I'm just gonna fold it over and then staple all around the inner edge. And there we go, nothing fancy. Stapled on the inside edge, just every couple inches all the way around. And on this side, I just folded it. You also don't need to do this, but just all those insulation fibers, you can withhold them behind this, which is helpful. You could use another fabric or whatever. This is just cheap to get a roll of this. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is install the French cleat. Now I cut up two 42-inch length French cleats into 8-inch sections. And so this is going to basically go on the top into the wood. And when you have that adhered, this is going to be on the wall. And then when you place the frame in, this will go right on top of that section right there. So I got some of these number 10 1/2-inch wood screws. I just wanted a little bit of length here, but large enough head so it wouldn't go through the holes here. And what you're first going to want to do is take your top of the frame, make sure this is the top, and just measure how wide it is, and then just find the middle, and then we're going to put 2 screws in here. Now I just found the middle of my French cleat, 8 inches, so that's 4 inches, and then I found the middle of my poster and I marked right behind here the middle, and then I pre-drilled the holes and then put in 2 of these screws, and now it should be ready to mount. For mounting these up on the wall, I ended up trying out these number 4 to number 6 7/8 inch screws, and they fit in the hole and they don't go through the other side. And we don't need a whole lot of weight because they aren't very heavy, but this will support up to 20 pounds, so it'll be totally fine. So put the French cleat on the wall like that, and then on the back it just slides right in the back right there, which is nice because then you can actually move the frame left and right if you want to kind of get a good centering for measurements. Got them up in here. The last thing I was doing was just taking a lint roller and just going over the frame because there's a lot of specs and things from laying it down and stuff like that. So just gonna go around and do that. All right, so we're back in the movie room. The panel's up and it is sounding really just tight. If you've ever been into like an anti-echo chamber or something like that, it kind of just feels like the sound just like stops. And so I can definitely hear a difference just standing here and talking to you. I'm excited to start checking out some content with these panels up. So just sort of a breakdown on what I ended up spending. For the wood, I ended up getting approximately $140 worth of 1x4 kiln dried common whitewood board. These were 10-foot lengths. So I did make a mistake in cutting and things like that, but overall, if I were to need the wood that I just used, I would get 11 pieces of 10-foot 1x4 board. So that ends up being $140. For the insulation, it ended up costing $267.40 to do 9 frames. I didn't end up ordering the full amount. I did end up ordering half because the Owens Cornering 703 that I got only comes in 6 packs from this website. I couldn't find it locally, couldn't find a good alternative. It was good that I did get the Owens Cornering 703 because it's rigid, it stays, and it was really easy to work with. So if I were to order all the insulation I needed, that'd be $267. For the fabric designs that I ordered, I ended up spending $205 on that. And then to mount all the frames, I ended up spending around $60 on French cleats, which were 2 42-inch cleats that I cut up into those 8-inch sections. And then finally, $45 for miscellaneous costs for staples, brad nails, wood glue, stuff like that, the landscape fabric, things like that. So overall, it ended up costing around $80 to make each panel, which instead of ordering a pre-made panel from like Acoustic, which is where I got the insulation, is definitely much cheaper, and obviously you get a custom design. So I'm definitely happy with how it came out. It sounds really great. If I were to do it again, I definitely wouldn't fold up the fabric and put it in a corner for a week or so. That definitely added those creases, which is why I needed to iron out the fabric before I tightened it, as well as steaming it once it was on there, which got rid of everything I needed to get rid of. I also wouldn't use any images that I sourced that were less than 1 megabyte. The Dark Knight poster, for example, I really like the concept of it, but you could see the artifacting in the image. With the Matrix poster, I can definitely see a little artifacts, but that's only because I cropped out a larger picture just to get what I was looking for, because I really couldn't find exactly what I was looking for. What I definitely would do again is get a brad nailer. That made things so easy to put those frames together. I did a Craig jig before with screws and this was so much easier. Obviously more dangerous, and you need an air compressor, so that is a requirement. I would also really be careful pulling the fabric. In some areas, kind of like overlapped on the corners or on the sides. It really doesn't matter because some of it, I can't even see the top, or it's on a section that's not even facing you when you're in the room. So for the most part, it's not really annoying, but if you did mess up like that, you could go over the sides with some MDF or another type of board. Somebody else on the forum did that. It looked really sick because it just really cleaned up and it just looked like a nice front and then a nice wood paneling on the sides. And then finally, double checking all your measurements. Double, if not triple check my measurements, but because I messed up in one particular spot, it just messed me up and I had to buy like 6 new boards. So definitely double check all your measurements when you're hanging, when you're cutting, and what have you. So everybody just makes that mistake. So let me know if you have any questions. This might be a little long. I hope you appreciated the total walkthrough from start to finish with making one of these panels. Again, I'd really recommend it. I put it off for so long and these walls were so bare for so long, and I'm really happy that something's up there now. So let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.